Jim Selby really was, he sounds like a bit of a curmudgeon. He loved his horses, he loved being a stagecoach driver, and he hated the railways. And on Friday the 13th of July 1888, he decided that he would show that the era of the stagecoach isn't over. So he gets on this big yellow stagecoach and he bet £1,000 to a railway operator that he could get his stagecoach from Piccadilly to the Old Ship Inn on Brighton seafront and back again in under 8 hours. Did he do it? Where does the word Piccadilly come from? Well, a piccadille was one of those strange Elizabethan ruffs which people used to wear around their necks, both men and women, and around here were lots and lots of the shops that made these things called piccadilles during the first Elizabethan period. So that's where the name comes from. Now, we are in London's West End. Now, West End, the word West End now covers a huge swathe of central London. I think if you're in Holborn, you can kind of get away with saying you're in the West End. If you're definitely in Soho, Charing Cross, you're definitely in the West End. But really, the real West End is right where I'm standing, because what does it mean? West End. It's the west end of the city, and it became used to describe the Piccadilly area before all of Knightsbridge had been developed in Kensington. Piccadilly has evolved in a certain way. Because it was at the end of the city, it was where the stagecoaches left for the south and the west. If you wanted to, if you were a businessman and you had a business in Bristol, you'd come to Piccadilly in the 1600s and you'd jump on a stagecoach, which meant there was a really big service economy grew up around here as well. If you've got lots of stagecoaches, what else do you need? You need stabling for your horses. You need loads of blacksmiths. You need people who are going to make blacksmiths' shoes, horses' shoes. You need the people who are going to make the reins, the bridles, the saddles, the coach makers. So that all grew up around here. But also, and this still lingers today, this lingers 400 years later, you needed coaching inns. You needed somewhere for your travellers to stay. And so round here, you saw the early development of London's hotel industry. That's why the Ritz is in this neighbourhood. It used to be a coaching inn. In 1792, there were 16 coaches leaving every day, and by 1811, every single day, 211 stagecoaches left from where I'm standing, which is a remarkable boom in stagecoach travel. By 1835, which was probably the heyday of the British stagecoach, there were 3,000 different routes from this very spot. You could go 3,000 different directions. How's about that? It employed 16,000 coachmen, and all round Piccadilly people were employed here. There's a chap called William Chaplin who was the main provider. He ran half of all the stagecoaches, and actually he carried on his business until about 1865, so well into the railway age. And what he did was he created this idea that a stagecoach was a romantic way to travel. You didn't want to get on this big newfangled steam engine with all the smoke and the soot. What you wanted to do was get 4 lovely horses, thoroughbreds, to take you to your country pile. And so he set up this stagecoach, which was a kind of a nostalgic look to the past, and he had big yellow livery on it. Now, one of his coach drivers was a chap called Jim Selby. Jim Selby really was, he sounds like a bit of a curmudgeon. He loved his horses, he loved being a stagecoach driver, and he hated the railways. And on Friday the 13th of July 1888, he decided that he would show that the era of the stagecoach isn't over. So he gets on this big yellow stagecoach and he bet £1,000 to a railway operator that he could get his stagecoach from Piccadilly to the Old Ship Inn on Brighton seafront and back again in under 8 hours. Did he do it? Well, he needed 16 changes of horses. He spent 40, this is wonderful, this is like a proper Formula 1 pit stop. He had to change some horses at the Horse and Groom down in Streatham, so he's gone through London and he's reached Streatham. It took them 47 seconds to change 4 horses. Isn't that amazing? He got to the Old Ship Inn at 1 p.m. He quickly turned around and he drove back as quickly as he could on his old times coach, as they were called. He had well-wishers throwing flowers in his path as he tried to get back before 6. But he nearly failed, because at Crawley there was a level crossing, and whether the dodgy railway companies knew he was going to make it, they lowered the barrier and he had to wait for a few minutes, and it really knocked him out of sync. However, he comes crashing through the South Downs, back up the London path, into the London road, and he got here in his yellow livery, in his old times coach, with 10 minutes to spare, and he won his £1,000. And do you know what? With his grand, he bought himself a coach and horses and retired. Good old Jim Selby. Well done, mate.